All right, so in this video, I'm going to discuss some of the common mistakes that I see my clients making when it comes to physical therapy. Naturally, when you come to physical therapy, it's because you've got an injury that you're trying to rehab or reduced function or something that you want to see improve. So of course you want to make sure that you're getting the most bang for your buck and going about it the right way. So I'm going to share with you some of the mistakes that I see my clients making, which originally I was just going to film this video for my clients, but the reality is that so many people out there would benefit from hearing these things. So I'll make this video public. So the first mistake that I see clients making is that when I prescribe exercise parameters, and to give you a little bit of context here, exercise parameters are things like sets or reps or the frequency that you're doing those things or the intensity that I have you doing those things at. Those are examples of exercise parameters. Now, sometimes I'll give a client an exercise and I'll say, do this exercise for one set and do it 3 times a day. And often what will happen is they'll come back to my office and I'll ask them if they did their exercises and they'll be like, yeah. And I'll be like, okay, how frequently did you do it? And they'll say once a day. But what they've done is they've taken the 3 sets, so the one set that I had them do 3 times a day, and they've just done it all at once. So they did their 3 sets all at once, and then they didn't do their exercises again for another 24 hours. So they just tried to get it all out of the way in one bout. And if I prescribe specific parameters, it's for a reason. And there's probably a good chance if you're not my client and you're seeing another physical therapist that they prescribed the parameters they gave you for a reason. So you want to avoid messing with those things if you can, or at least initiate a conversation with your physical therapist to see, okay, like it would work better for me if I could do this all at once. Will I still get the same adaptation if I do the exercises all at once rather than 3 times a day? Or whatever change you're looking to make. So an example of why I would prescribe something multiple times in a day, specifically without allowing somebody or without encouraging somebody to do it all at once, is, if we've got an acute injury, for example, and we're trying to guide the way that the tissue is healing. We want to make sure that the tissue being laid down, whether it's scar tissue or whatever you want to call it, is being laid down in the right direction. And cells actually need to be told what direction to lay tissue down in. Otherwise, it'll just throw tissue down in all different directions, and you'll end up with weak tissue that, we can insult or will yield more easily in the future, meaning you can injure it more easily in the future. Whereas if we can make sure that that tissue is laid down in the appropriate direction, in the direction that we want, or in the direction of the original tissue that was insulted or injured, it'll give you a better outcome for your rehab. But because that tissue is made up of cells, and because cells don't really have brains and they don't really have memory, they just respond to things. And the things that they respond to are force. So I'll give someone an exercise where they specifically put force through the tissue to guide the tissue directionality so that the tissue is laid down in the direction that we want it laid down in as they heal and as they rehab. But because it doesn't have, or those cells don't have memory, we need to be continuously reminding that tissue throughout the day. So they'll do their exercise in the morning, it'll respond for a little while, and then it'll start going back to making a mess of things. So then we inject another one of those exercise bouts. And that's an example of why I would want somebody doing something frequently throughout the day rather than all at once. Because if they did it all at once, the tissue would respond and the cells that make up that tissue would respond while they're doing that exercise for a little while after. And then for the 23 hours or 24 hours before they come back and do that exercise again, it's back to just making a mess of things and it's not laying tissue down in the direction that we want. So if you're one of my clients, when you look at your program and you see what I've prescribed, try to follow it exactly as I prescribed it or as close to that as you can. And try to avoid making big changes where instead of doing something frequently, you do it all at once and, do the same volume or the same amount of exercise, but do it in one bout rather than throughout the day or vice versa. Mistake number 2. So this comes down to not doing exercises properly. And that usually happens for a few reasons. So when I worked at another clinic, we would prescribe exercise the most common way that it's done, at least here where I live, which is that patients are given, or clients are given photos of an exercise and then some typed out written instructions. And when I put myself in the client's shoes, I find that offers way more room for error, and it's a lot more difficult to try and piece together exactly what you should be doing and how you should be doing it. So what I started doing to try and set my clients up for more success is I started filming videos for them. And I would explain in the video exactly what we're doing, and if there was anything that I needed to tweak for that specific client, I would either film a new video for that client, or I would type out written instructions where the video was linked so that they could see what they needed to modify. Now, even with the videos, I still find that I'll have clients come back in and I'll ask them, okay, how did the exercises go? And they'll say, oh, it went great. And I'll often review the exercises with the client, especially if when I reassess them, it's like, okay, I didn't quite see the change or the adaptation I wanted to see. And then usually what happens is I take them back into my gym and I'll be like, okay, show me how you were doing this exercise. And they'll show me it and it'll be something completely different from what I've sent them the video on. And so I'll be like, okay, did you watch the video? And they'll be like, yeah, I watched it. I'm like, okay, so in the video we discussed doing it this way and not this way, and we discussed adding this in and making sure that you do this, and they go, oh. And then I ask them how many times they watched the video, and it's usually like once or twice. And so what I recommend doing, because sometimes this turns into like, if you've ever played a game of telephone where we did this as kids where you would say something and you would whisper it into somebody else's ear and then they'd whisper it into the next person, and it would often change a little bit every time, and such that when it came back to you it was a completely different story. That seems to be what what happens with these exercises, is that clients will watch the videos once or they'll read the instructions once and then they won't touch it again, and they'll just go based on memory, and every time they do it or every week a little detail changes. And by the time they come back to me, they're not doing the exercise that they are supposed to be doing. And now we've lost all of that time where we could have been making that progress, and I send them back home with the same exercise and the reminder to watch the video every time, at least for like the first 10, 15 times that you do it, until it's really solid. And so that's what I recommend doing with my clients, is make sure that you don't just watch the video once. Keep watching it every time you do it. Make sure you've got a really good grasp on exactly what you're doing. And then if you stop watching the video for a while, just check in with it, a week, 2 down the line. If you've done the exercise, say 10 times without watching the video, just check in with that video, make sure you're doing it properly. Give yourself a quick refresher. If you're still checking all the boxes, then great. And if not, you can tweak what you needed to tweak before you come back to me, so that we don't have to re-prescribe you the exact same exercise and go over the exact same things that are discussed in the video. So those are 2 examples of mistakes that clients will make where they kind of get in their own way from making progress from a physical therapy standpoint. So make sure you consider those when you go about your own physical therapy, especially if you're one of my clients. And then I've also made another video, and I'll link it here. And in that video, I discuss another big mistake that clients make, especially after their last physical therapy session. So make sure that you check that out as well. And if you have any questions about what I've discussed in the video, please place them in the comments below and I'll answer them for you there. Whenever you watch one of my videos, make sure to check the description below the video, because I'll always drop links to related videos, links to exercises that would go well with the one that you just finished watching, links to free mobility classes, ebooks, and to my ever-growing library of full-length training videos. Additionally, if you found this specific video helpful, please let me know by hitting the like button below, and that'll send me the message that you want to see more videos like this one. You can also subscribe to be notified when new videos like this one are available. And if there's something specific that you want to see a video on, just let me know in the comments below and we'll try and make that happen. Otherwise, take care and we'll see you in the next one.